Privet, Dzień dobry, assalamu alaikum, ciao, konnichiwa, bonjour, hola, good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Ken at 10. How are you doing today? If you haven't been here before, welcome. We're James Alexander Estate Agents. We're based in Southwest 16, Norbury to be precise, which is situated between Streatham to the north, Croydon to the south, and we talk about property every day. How are you? Spring doesn't feel like it though, does it? It's rather chilly out there. Here in SW16, it's kind of cold and overcast, which is really frustrating because I had a beautiful weekend. And last week I was really excited because it just really felt like spring is here. I was out there walking amongst the daffs in Pollard's Hill. Many of you would have seen it. And it was lovely. And we're going to do another one in Green Lane. But the weather's just a bit naff. It's a bit cold out there. As far as the market's concerned, well, it's hot as ever, really. Lots of offers turned up from the weekend, all agreed now. Some still sort of hanging over. We're still trying to negotiate to get the best possible deals, make sure we've got all the proofs in for our clients, things like that. A few bits of news. Demand from Zoopla, data from Zoopla shows house prices are hitting an average of 245,000 now. This is marking a year-on-year increase of 8.1%. That's massive amount for an average house price across the UK. That is, of course, here in London, the average is much higher, and it's very difficult for the young first-time buyers to get on board. And that's why the mortgages are now, first-time buyers, you may not know this, second-timers, people selling your house, but first-time buyers are now mostly getting 40-year mortgages. Think about that. That means that if you're 30 and you're a first-time buyer, you're getting a mortgage that's going to take you to 70 plus. It just seems extraordinary, doesn't it? I mean, 25 years used to be typical when we were younger. And then there were some pushing to 30 years. And now we're talking 40 years. It just seems extraordinary to me. The Will Smith thing's still blowing up, isn't it? I just saw a great meme with Volodymyr Zelensky on the phone saying, Will, have you heard what Putin said about you? I thought that was great. Apart from that, the average mortgage hits 235,000. The average value of a mortgage loan is 10.4% higher than this time last year. And the average mortgage is about the average house price, actually, at 235,000. So it shows people are mortgaging right up there. Jeffrey Epstein's Caribbean properties are up for sale as well. Couldn't though, could you? Could you honestly? Oh, just imagine that. His hot tubs and his pools and things like that. You just wouldn't do it, would you? I bet they'll go at a massive discount. I mean, I just want to bulldoze the whole thing and start again. Don't think I could film myself in a place like that with that pedo. So aside from that, hope you're well. We've got a busy day on valuations today. Quite a lot going on. Still really short of rental stock. We're literally waiting for the next notice to come in from tenants so that we can re-advertise because there's so little stock around. Then when we advertise, we're finding we've got so many inquiries that we literally have to withdraw it from the market after a day because we're already overran with inquiries. And of course, in the process, the rents are being pushed substantially. I heard LBC this morning talking about landlords and how they were getting caught by tenants staying after notice was given and ending up with situations where tenants were not paying the mortgage and then local authorities were advising those tenants to stay put. Twas ever thus, Nick. It's always been that way for many, many years now as local authorities, and it's not necessarily the tenants' faults. Local authorities, some of them are getting a bit better at this. The official policy of the local authorities is that if a tenant approaches them, they won't ask them to stay put until evicted. They'll put them in the queue anyway, and they won't get any head start by waiting. But the reality is they're all desperate for stock. They don't have enough stock. And so they quite often advise tenants to stay put, even though they've received notice. And this can be really frustrating for landlords because the average period to get a tenant out now is up there at 6 to 9 months. I mean, it's just crazy. So you've got people that literally haven't received rent in some instances and want their properties back and can't get them. Very frustrating, which is why we like to protect our landlords with rent guarantee and legal protection policies so that if the worst happens, God forbid, then you are protected and at least you've got your rent still coming in and the tenants will be evicted by the insurer, meaning that you're fully protected. So important to think about rent guarantee insurance now. I would say, for most landlords, why wouldn't you do that? There will be exceptions. Sometimes you get tenants that won't quite fit into the mold and then you've got a decision to make. Do you want to accept this tenant and the extra risk that they bring? And that's always a difficult call, especially in a market where there's such a big selection of tenants, because you will find someone that will fit that criterion. And things like, and this is one for you young folks as well, if you've got a county court judgment and you're going for a rented property, that will count against you. You may actually lose that property. So whatever you do, make sure that you cover those debts. If you've got any county court judgments or make sure you clear and satisfy them. because if you don't, it will reflect on you when you come to rent a property and we credit score you. And similarly for a mortgage, it will hit you when you go for a mortgage as well. So I can't express enough. I know it's difficult times. It's difficult to be able to pay bits and pieces, but make sure you don't leave any debts behind. And, the typical time this happens is when a tenant or an owner even leaves one property, goes to another, and the bill goes to the wrong place. So make sure if you've got mobile phone bills, council tax bills, that sort of thing, even utility bills, that they know where you are for the final billing so you don't end up with a county court judgment. These CCJs can have a massive impact on your ability to obtain finance, get a mortgage, get a rented property. And more now we're finding that people have them and aren't aware that they've got them. And so it ends up in a situation where we're referencing people for rentals. They don't even know they've got an issue, and then bang, there it is. And there's nothing we can do. The rent guarantee insurer won't accept them. Therefore, our landlord won't accept them. And it's a real frustration. So make sure those bills follow you when you move, folks. Aside from that, as far as the market's concerned, really still lots of confidence out there. People are bidding over. We're still getting offers over. That is a strategy, as you probably know if you watch regularly. We do try and get offers over on our properties because nobody can really say what you're worth. You're worth what someone's going to pay. That's the bottom line. How do you determine that figure? Well, by supply and demand. How many people are looking? How many people are offering? What's the best they're prepared to offer? And how critically does your property compare with what else is available on the market at the time? And if it's favorably, people will offer. If it's unfavorably, people will not. And hopefully you'll pitch the sweet spot somewhere in between so that you'll get a level of interest which will maximize your sale value on the one hand, but also get the critical take up you need to make sure that you get a buyer and quickly. Why do you need a buyer quickly in a busy market? Well, I'll tell you, because if you hang around too long on the market, what happens is there's a perception that nobody wants your property. And if that perception comes across, because remember, you get old very quickly now because of the internet, you go live on the market, people are scrolling those lists daily, sometimes even every couple of hours when they're looking for a property. They're on the alerts, they're waiting for the next properties to come up. And when they're scrolling and they see your property and they see it every day, obviously it becomes very old very quickly. They get tired of looking at the same thing. And so when you do, for instance, if you are a little overpriced and then you bring down that price, people will have already seen your property for quite a long period of time, and therefore you can become very old very quickly. And the perception then is that you're no longer the hot one, and you want to be the hot one, the one that everybody wants, the one that everybody's competing for, because that's the way you'll get the best possible price. You do need to test the market to make sure that you get the full price for your property, but you also need to be very careful that you don't leave it languishing so long that it ends up getting less. And statistically, it's been proven that if you advertise your property at a higher level than it's likely to be worth and gradually bring down the price, then you'll get less than had you pitched it at a price which was competitive and therefore sold it more quickly. And therefore, for the perception of the buyers is this is the hot one. So be careful of that. And the way to do that is offers over. Rather than quote a round figures price, say offers over and then quote a price, which is more of a guide. And then people can make their own decision when they come through the door. People are quite used now to offering over the asking price. In a busy market, it's to be expected. And, they'll be asking themselves how it compares to everything else. If they see that it's better than others in a similar range, of course they'll offer over if they want to secure the property anyway. And then it's a question of comparing their situation with other buyers and making sure they're the best possible person for the property. And that's something that agents do every day. Trying to advise which buyer is the best buyer to go with is part of what we do. And it's a critical part, because if we get that wrong, then we have to start again, go back to the drawing board, new buyer, new marketing and all the rest of it. That's not good for the seller. It's not good for us. So we do our very best to make sure that we choose the highest quality and the most motivated buyer for every property we take on. And it really is a very fine judgment call sometimes. And of course, where there are winners, there are also losers. And invariably, when you've got a busy market, there'll be more losers than winners. So if you are in that position where you've lost out on a couple of properties, stick with it. I know it's tough. I do know it's tough. I've been there myself at the other end of the equation, and it's really hard. And all I can say is stick with it. Make sure you supply the information as quickly as you can to the agent when requested, and make sure they have confidence in you as a buyer, that you've proved your deposit, and hopefully you'll find the one that's right for you in time. That's it for today. Thanks very much for watching. Stay safe and well. Look after yourselves. And if you can, your family and friends, we're back tomorrow with another edition. Till then, ciao.